this meeting to order. Look. Right. First order of business, welcome of guests and public comments. Robert?
Penalty decline.
Danny? No? All right. Third item, let's go to the minutes, gentlemen. Look over the minutes of last meeting. Anybody? Hearing nothing, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So accepted. Second.
Okay. All right. Larry moved to accept the minutes, George second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, same sign? Okey dokey. That was quick, we're all the way down to Lisa.
Oh,
Hi.
good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we have our oath of office and our certificate election for Mr. Ivy and Mr. Duran. Mr. Ivy representing Division 5 and Mr. Duran Division 2. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On being reelected
All
to
right.
the Board of Directors. So at this time, if you could please stand and raise your right hand. In front of you, you will see your oath of office, if you could read that,
Okay.
please, both of you.
I, Arthur Ivy, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Director, Division 5 of the El Paso County Water Improvement District Number 1, and will do so to the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend the policies of the El Paso County Water Improvement District Number 1, so help me God.
I, Miguel Terán, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully
Raise your right hand, please.
the other one. Execute the duties of the Officer of Director, Division Number 2 of the El Paso County Water Improvement District Number 1, and will do the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend the policy of the El Paso County Water Improvement District Number 1. So help me God.
Thank you. That's it. Congratulations.
Is that it?
Yes.
All right.
If I can just get you to sign that.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Lisa.
Just give me a second. You just need to sign this.
All right. Lisa, you're on here for the
Oh,
election.
the
But
appointment.
that's the election of the El Paso County officers. We do that ourselves?
Yes, and you all need to appoint.
Okay.
That's next.
So, next, gentlemen, there's only 4 of us here, but we still need election of the El Paso County Water Improvement District Number 1 officers. So, somebody nominates somebody. Do I hear any nominations?
Can we nominate the president? Can we nominate the president?
And the president is? You're,
Johnny.
okay. Johnny Stubbs. Nominated for president.
I'll nominate Art Ivy for vice president.
Okay. Art Ivy for vice president.
I'll nominate Larry, secretary.
As secretary. Okay, do I hear any other nominations from the floor? All right, since we only have one nomination for each slot, I don't know, Ms. Attorney, is that, can I do the whole slate?
Yeah, they can.
All right, then the Johnny Stubbs is nominated for president, Art Ivy for vice president, Larry Ceballos for secretary. All those in, let's see, resolution? Is there a resolution on that? I guess we're electing our own board members.
Yeah, leave it as is, in other words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you could do that by acclamation.
By acclamation, we keep the same president, vice president, secretary as the last term.
Since there's been nominations, though, you'll have to take a vote.
Okay. All those in, let's do it individually then. All those in favor of Johnny Stubbs as president signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. All those in favor of Art Ivy being vice president signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by same sign. All those in favor of Larry Ceballos continuing as secretary or being our secretary signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed signify by the same sign. Okay, congratulations to Johnny, Art, and Larry. Votes carried on each of those three. Everybody's yay.
Okay.
All right. Maria, if I botch that up, you can fix that stuff. All right, Mary, your turn.
Good morning. We do have our investment report. At this time, we don't have anything until August for reinvestment.
Okay.
The SFG treasury bills, I looked at the rates this morning and they are
Quite a
going
bit
up.
higher.
Yes, they are. But at this time, we are not able to reinvest.
Okay. Now, I just had one question on that report. I noticed on the date invested on the bottom, the 322, the treasury bill, 1.63. The day before we accepted a CD, can we not get a treasury bill for 12 months? You see on the top, 321, 2022.
Yes, that one was in first, and so we went ahead and left it with the Westar.
Did you?
And then the funds were taken out for the treasury bill from our general fund account.
Okay, I guess what I'm suggesting is we couldn't get that same treasury or something similar on 12 months, a lot better than 0.25.
At least we could have possibly so, but at this time we had reinvested already with the Westar
Okay,
for the CD.
okay, 1 day prior.
One day prior.
Okay,
Those CDs go out a week in advance for
and if you don't notify them, it's automatically renewed or
yes.
something?
So going forward, can we just every time go to the treasury, or is there a limit?
No, we can every time. I know that prior we had refrained from going because the interest rates were so low.
Right.
And Westar was giving us a higher rate. But now that it has been increasing, we can go to.
So we should consider this as an automatic going forward, right?
Correct. If the rates continue.
Right.
Well, she should compare, yeah.
Well, obviously we compare, but without
They don't give
question.
you a notification, Mary, when the CD's gonna mature, or they,
Yes, they do.
how much time do you,
I believe it's 10 days prior.
10 days prior?
Yes.
But she's gotta comply by rebidding it and
Yes.
sending them everybody notification that the funds are available, if all the banks in the area, if they wish to. She communicates with not just Westar and looks at the treasury bill, she communicates with all the banks, correct, Mary?
Yes, correct, that's right. Which unfortunately the others do not respond.
Okay. Okey-doke. Well, that means next time, for sure, because you notice our biggest chunk of money is in there at 0.15.
Correct.
You can
Yeah.
look into the penalty, sometimes the penalties are
Too
less
bad.
than the interest you would make on reinvesting it, so.
And that's a good idea.
Something to think about.
Just to think about it, a 12-month also treasuries sometimes are, not nearly what the 2-year or the
Right.
18-month is, so.
Well, at this time we're.
You might look at those, because there's 2 12 months there. Both of them are pretty low, and both of them have pretty good chunk of change in there. So see what kind of penalties they're talking about, because the difference between a 0.25 or a 0.15 and a close to 2, I'm guessing for the, is gonna be quite significant.
Yes, I will get with our representative, our account
Okay.
representative. The rate for a 12 months with the treasury is at 1.90%.
Well, see, that, we may be able to do that, yeah, we may be able to do that, yeah.
I have quite another comment, I guess. On the general fund, what's the average required to keep or maintain a general fund amount? We're almost at $2 million on a general fund. That's basically accessible and really not invested.
I prefer to leave at least a minimum of 2 million, especially during this time, we do have the projects going on. So we have several expenses.
Okay, on that note, given the fact that they're willing to give some interest, is there entertainment to getting the best bang for the buck from another bank besides the one we're using across the board? In other words, I would think that they could go over 1%. I'm not sure, I'm not into this 100% of the time, but I've heard of other banks giving over 1% on a.
On the general fund
On the general
itself?
fund. I'd like to inquire and make sure that is the case, or not the case, because, just a comment, something to consider, if that's something that we could entertain or not.
It would be something I would have to speak to our representative about, and I can go ahead and do so, and see if.
Would you represent a representative for the bank?
For our account. We have a Rosa Butcher,
Okay,
who I communicate quite often,
okay.
and she's the one.
Right, and Mary had looked at this a couple of years back. You all had made this request, and she did look at it, but we decided to stay with West Star because of the location where deposits can be made just across the street where the bank is here.
Okay.
And if we went with anybody else, we'd have to send somebody or contract with an agency to pick up our deposits and come out here and do that. So Mary did look into that.
Okay. Now, that's a good point, and it's nothing wrong with asking again to keep West Star on top of their toes as far as getting the most bang for the buck. If in the market we're getting over 1%, somebody else, some other bank, and what is the price of convenience? And West Star may be able to raise their rates up a little bit higher on the general fund. It's just something to think about.
Correct, and it is something that was a consideration, or what had happened with our CDs when we moved to our treasury. Then West Star went ahead and tried to match those
Good,
rates.
thank you.
Okay. Mary, you want to continue?
Next is our balance sheet report. Is there any questions?
Your net revenue and the balance sheet. So my questions are on those three items that we get from the city here: third-party drain maintenance and the other one, the annual licenses. When are we scheduled to receive those monies?
The third party is when we finalize on the allocation, then we will go ahead and invoice El Paso Water the first 2 quarters.
Okay.
The drain maintenance, we are working on finalizing that license, so there's a little holding in regards to that.
Okay.
The parentheses indicates that it's below our expected revenue.
Yes.
Ouch.
Well, those are always scheduled, they're nearly always a little late, but, okay.
But we are at 84% meeting our revenue proposed budget. And we're in 6 months into the fiscal year.
Okay.
Anybody? Any questions, balance sheet, revenue? Mary, I think we're ready for the.
The fund report. We do have several that meet asterisks on them for
Okay.
referral referring to a reimbursable project. And that would be line 27,
Okay.
line 33, and line 52.
Line 52 is a truck.
Yes, it was an insurance claim reimbursement.
Gotcha. We had a grant for my trucks. Not quite, no. Okay. All right. Mary, all the way down to 99 and 100. The 99, I understand, that's that maintenance on the fourth quarter. What is the one below? It says fourth quarter Rio Grande. What is that? I don't remember.
Those are the two maintenance contracts that we have. with
The one is the
Bureau of
dam, I remember. One says fourth quarter
Rio Grande.
2022 Rio Grande. You know what that is?
Yes. Mr.
I believe that's the reimbursement for the 2001 when we collect, Mary, is that it?
No,
No,
no.
still on the
That's
van?
part of the quarterly
So the-
payments that we
okay.
send to.
So this is a fourth quarter payment of what we're obligated to pay the Bureau of Reclamation for the El Paso office
Okay.
salaries and
Other,
other.
not the dam, but for the.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and we get a breakdown, we have a breakdown of what they propose every year and.
Should be a lot cheaper, but it's not there. Oh, no. Just kidding.
He was the one that kept it cheap.
That's the one, he's the one that kept it.
That's right.
That's right.
That's why it's going up. Okay.
Appreciate the comment. Put on the spot.
Also, there's an overpayment, they will credit the following quarter.
Okay. Yeah, I just, the dam maintenance understood, I just forgot about the other part there.
The 67 electric company, is that typically what the going rate is for maintaining this building? Monthly rate? Or-
I believe this one might be the main office, but it could be a combination of other locations.
Okay.
But we need to know.
Anybody else? No? Larry? Okay. Mary, back to you. Credit card?
The credit card.
Anybody have questions on credit cards? If not, let's go to the legal consultant, that's just for y'all's information. Don't let your teardrops stain that sheet. Too late. Anybody have any more questions for Mary? No?
Does Paso water sewage still? You're not charging for anything? Or is that a different
Where's that?
account?
That's on.
I'm just curious on the line item for Paso water sewage bill.
Oh,
I noticed it's a zero. Oh, it costs.
Right, they've reimbursed us for all our expenses. It was,
Okay.
I think, close to 600,000, Mary?
This is-
Great.
And by the way, are they finished?
They are, yes.
They are? As long as you-
They're-
Good. What are they gonna do with all that earth? They gonna have to carry it off somewhere?
They're trucking it away and burying it,
Some sort of landfill?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably, they have a sludge disposal site, it's probably going to.
I remember there's a certain size that they allow that
Yeah,
stuff.
they're allowed. So it's low, it's not, they have it.
Okay, Rose,
Hello.
good morning.
We have two tax adjustments this morning.
Okay.
So the property is from, there's two parcels, same owner. Unpaid taxes, we filed tax suit, the property was sold. We did recover $366.10, that's our proceeds, and we have to remove $294.46.
Is that a removal, or do you actually have to write a check to
We
someone?
have to extinguish. So when there's a tax sale, the
So it's
the
just a
bid-
loss?
yes, sir.
Okay. And by law, I guess that just means that was the end of it, right?
Yes, sir. So now we have a new owner, and the suit is non-suit.
But we did get 366.10, we gave up 294.4.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, understood.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have a motion to approve those adjustments.
Do I hear any motion to approve those adjustments?
I'm going to accept the adjustments.
George makes a motion, Mike seconds, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Our next report is for the City Council on behalf of Public Service Board assignments, Lower Valley Water District assignments, and tax suits. This is for information purposes. Do you have any questions?
You're not gonna tell us those percents, Rose, like you usually do?
That's our next report. That's our next one.
Okay.
We'll go to our next report. Okay, our percentages.
Gosh, we're going to, where were we at, 95%?
Yep.
We are at 95.6753%.
$6.73.
We're not as perfect as we used to be. It's a tough one.
I'm getting it,
It's-
okay?
Yeah, you're doing pretty good.
You're doing really good.
And we are sending notices, we are starting making contact with the property owners, making them aware that there's.
Circumstances, COVID, all these kind of things that affected
Yes, sir.
everybody's pocketbook.
Yeah, so, 2021, we are at 95.6753% versus last year, we're at 96.8605%.
Very good.
Very good, Rose. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Been great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. General Manager, Julie.
We have several issues to talk about here. We'll start off with A, I don't know if Maria wanted to talk about the compact meeting in the closed instead of in the open, Maria? Or do you want to discuss it in the open?
I think maybe, yeah, let's reserve for the close. I would just
Yeah, we can move.
state generally that, we had good attendance with our general manager. I was there, and we had 3 board members.
3 board
That's right, yeah, I think I said 3.
Yeah, you said.
Okay.
Stand corrected.
Um,
That's Julie's bad
Speak
here.
up louder.
Oh,
That was Julie's bad here.
yeah,
you whispered.
yeah, President Stubbs and
Yep.
Director Brooks and Director Spios were up there. So it was well attended, and it was a good reception, and we're able to talk to our partners, Reclamation and the districts as well as others. So I don't think there was anything unusual or untoward, but we'll kind of talk about things that relate to litigation in the closed session.
Julie, back to your.
Okay. Item B, we have farmers meetings, we scheduled farmers meetings for tomorrow, Thursday. We are finally getting to meet in person at Texas A&M at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow will be the Lower Valley meeting. And then right after that one, we were able to schedule one in Canutillo at the Canutillo School District offices. The only thing is that they limited us on time, so we have to be there at 3:30, start that meeting at 3:30, and be out by 5. And that was their only request. So we have those two scheduled. Al will be making a presentation later to you all on the allocation that he's proposing for you all, and then we'll present it to the farmers. And then I also have a PowerPoint that Omar put together for me that I want to show the farmers what we've been doing with some of these grants that we've received and how we're upgrading our system. And having mentioned that, I did have Omar put together a package for you all. And in there it shows you exactly the amount of work that Omar does and Mary does to comply with each grant. And we have to put together a similar package like this for every grant that we receive. But in there, it shows you exactly the materials we bought, the personnel that we utilize, the equipment that we utilize, and so on, and how we justify our portion of matching the grant. And then Omar also includes pictures of the certain construction that we've been doing and the location that each one applies to. So it's something to look at. It's very time consuming for Mary and for Omar both, but the program that Mary has set up, Omar says it's working perfectly with what the Bureau of Reclamation requires and what the Texas Water Development Board requires for their reports. And so I don't know if you all have any questions on that you'd like to ask. I know Mr. Avi pointed out a couple of
Little stuff.
little mistakes somewhere, but
This is impressive. That's, I'll have to do this on every grant.
on every grant,
That's
yes,
a lot of,
yes,
yeah.
sure, yes.
Kudos to y'all for doing,
So you
keeping
guys-
up on all that.
So you guys did actually do some work, quite a bit of work. You make it look so easy. I would just make a couple comments. First of all, kudos to the grant team. And the program that you're using, Mary, is that Sage? Is that what you're using?
Yes.
Okay, are you proficient 100% on it? If not, do you need more training on it? Because I understand it's got 10,000 bells and whistles.
I mean, we were planning on going to one of their trainings, but then with the whole pandemic,
Well, that's fine. But I would recommend that we get 100% proficient on it, because it's a very expensive program, but it's a very productive program for Omar's efforts that he's doing. So I would look forward to that. The other thing is, there's a lot of engineering required for something like this as well. And I would like to think that our engineer, or if we have to, is keeping up with the grants, because I don't know, I'd hate to think that we're missing grant opportunities because engineering is not keeping up. Not throwing just stating a point, because I've done proposals like this. I know what it takes. And if you miss a single item, whether it be engineering or a study or something, or a photo, or some kind of endangered species or something to that effect, you're just thrown out. You're not even considered. And there's too much money that's at stake for us to not make that deadline. Because if I understand grants, they only happen once every blue moon, or they happen once a year, and you miss your window. And I'd hate to think that we're missing windows if we're not keeping up with certain deadlines. And I know COVID happened. We had a waste spill that we just had. We've had various things that happened that pull our engineering staff away from possibly these things. So my recommendation is that we take a really close look and reassess. If we have to get an engineering outsource, because we did this for the waste bill, I believe, I think Al Blair was very good about getting one of the professionals to do that. But if we need to get somebody such as that caliber to be able to, we don't miss something, that's what would be my suggestion and recommendation going forward. Because I believe Omar's done a great job, and our team on the grants has done a great job. Let's continue supporting them, and let's continue to do what it takes to bring in the money, because the proof's in the pudding. And 3 or 4 years of this has proved revenues into our system. So I don't have to speak anymore. I think the numbers speak for themselves, and those would be my comment.
Needing to respond and defending my engineer, I would say, I don't know where your comments come from, but I would tell you that we haven't missed anything. We've stayed on top of it. Al keeps briefed, and so does Bert, and by Omar and by Lisa and myself. And so we have not missed any opportunities to apply for any grants. We're always looking at the possibilities. I'm always emailing Omar. I think he gets tired of because I get the notifications first, I guess, and so I send them to Omar and send them to Lisa and send them to Al. But we have not missed any opportunities, and I just wanted to make those comments. Al is on top of it, and our engineering staff is very supportive. Omar's made me aware of how much Bert has been able to help him and cut corners for him and assist him on some of these applications. So we are on top of it, Miguel.
No, I appreciate it, and I do believe you are on top of it. But all I'm saying is that we've just acquired, I don't know, 300 acres of land, prime land, I don't know, 2 years ago, I don't know, 3 years ago. And there's an opportunity for grants. There's a beautification, and I don't know where the engineer is on that, but that would be my specific goal, is to pursue anything and anything to improve that piece of land as soon as possible, and without making any excuses for anything that's happening outside of that. And I'm just, that's my comment.
We don't make excuses. I mean, if you wait, in my presentation, we've got several applications that we're applying, and one of them is the Riverside Regulating Reservoir.
So one of the very successful things that, and Chewy really brought this along incredibly compared to where we were, if you guys remember back in the early 2000s, is that, and a lot of credits given to Pete, as Pete remembers, we all remember, don't we? Because we had to build up a construction team. And we did that so that, for 2 purposes. One, that it covers a tremendous amount of our salaries and our capital recovery for our equipment. So most of our equipment has a strong component of force account. And the force account means that we collect money for use of that equipment. Capital money, capital recovery money. In millions, right? But we've recovered over the years, but the problem with that, the downside to that is that, but we seriously looked at, we've done it before, is we don't bring in contractors to accelerate projects. We have to schedule the grants. Omar's very keen on this, because we have to schedule Pete's times so that we can make advantage of that and bringing that money into the district to recover. And we've delayed several projects because of that on purpose. Not that it hurt the project, we got the money, the government was fine with the delays on it, but mainly so we could fully utilize. And I guess, I'm pretty sure we're working you guys almost to the bone, right? Right. We're working pretty hard. And so that's always a consideration that I have when we apply for new grants. But most of the time, where we've been handling it, she's really great at this, is we've been extending the performance periods when we apply for those new ones.
Yes.
And so I think that's worked out really well, because most of them have fairly long performance periods. Right now, just to let you guys know, we talk some related to this litigation, but we're very actively, we already made one major proposal, a fairly big one. We worked pretty hard. We did have an outside consultant that helped us. Did not charge for that help. We were able to, we selected him through a committee, AECOM, that had a lot of experience with that. That was through USDA. That's component got, we didn't qualify, well, we qualified, we just weren't selected. There was, 80 times as many applicants as there was money, something like that. But Reclamation is entertained to pick up that proposal that he prepared. We gave it to Reclamation, the draft of it, and we're going to remodify it for their program. So I think, Jude, you've been working really hard with the commissioner on that, right?
Right, and we were targeting $26 million.
So that's a $26 million grant. We will have to bring in outside engineering, and we will have to, geotechnical. There'll be a whole, if we get that grant, it's such a big project, and it'll be 5 years, probably 6. And we'll probably hire one or more engineers. We'll have to go through a very formal process. The board will have to select those engineers. It's a professional services for you guys. But that's all, hopefully, in the next 2 years, right? It's gonna take us at least 2 years to get that money, I would think. But that's gonna be the biggest one we've ever done. The previous biggest one was Pargador, and it was just, what, about one? Well, I guess the one you got now is, the $2 million one's the biggest one we've done. So this one will be, this is a different ball game for this group. I've done some that size, I've done several projects that size.
The 26 million would be for
Sequoia Pond.
For
the big,
yeah,
the big,
completely redoing it.
we can make it 20 foot deep.
There's there's at a certain depth it becomes a hazard, and we're trying to keep it from being a hazard.
We can refill the shallow aquifer.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that either, but we're gonna seal it. It's
Okay.
we've got a design. It'll look very similar to the upper reservoir, to Danny's upper reservoir.
Yeah,
That's a
county line or
that's
or
a
the
real simple.
Bigger and better.
Well, it'll be bigger. Okay, it'll look like the Diablo Reservoir. Sorry, it'll look like the bigger of the two. But it turns out in regulated reservoirs, I've done quite a few of those for some fairly big ones. That there's an optimization, as you can imagine, coming in your engineering background, that as you go higher, the pyramid and the embankment has to get much wider.
That's right.
So you lose land,
Yeah.
and you have money. Every cubic yard that goes into that fill is an engineered fill, and so it's fairly expensive to build that. So there's an optimization from cost about it. You go too high, it gets very expensive, obviously, on doing it. If you're in a canyon or something, it's worth
There
doing.
you go.
But when you're on flat land, someplace between 10 and 14 feet is the economically optimal height.
Well, I could always wish.
And so we're probably gonna go for 14, I think, is what we're designing.
I like
right now.
14, that's good.
They only get to use about 10 to 12 of that, because we have to keep, you guys have this phenomenon called, what do you call it, dust storms? And so that on a reservoir, you can get a run-up, surprisingly small reservoir, you can get a run-up of, well, Danny will tell you, what, 4 feet away?
Very easily.
Yeah, so we have to rip wrap the top 4 feet, and we have to put compartments in.
Well, I guess so with our wind.
Yeah, you get this build up on, when you start getting 50 to 70 mile an hour winds. Which apparently you guys, when I drove in today, I hadn't noticed the hay barns near Mesquite had been destroyed, so
Yeah,
what was that?
The wind 2 weeks ago, when the winds got up to
2 weeks ago?
almost 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, so those hay barns have been there, being one to put hay in some of those barns. Those hay barns have been there for 30 years. I've been putting hay in them for a long time, and they're gone, so that was a record. Something new happened, so it ripped them up pretty bad, I'm surprised.
They're around Mesquite.
Yeah, right there.
And you see a lot of damage in New Mexico also with hay barns and different type awnings and stuff that the wind
It took these and it curled them in, it was really strange.
Yeah.
And it looked like it would have been like a collapse from snow or something, but it was wind, you could tell it, taking those 4-inch poles that they use a lot, and they looked like they were pretzels.
Twisted, yeah.
So,
Well, I haven't driven up there in the last few.
I guess it just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The last time I left, it must have been that storm, and yeah, that's really what happened, so. Anyways, I appreciate the comments, Miguel, and I think these guys are on top of it. We're pushing as hard as Pete can push, as
Yeah, I don't
fast as he
think
can
I
do.
was meaning to denigrate anybody.
No, not at all.
Point
It was
out
just, yes, absolutely. I was just, thank you for clarifying that. Makes me more aware of what's happening and appreciating what you guys are really doing. And I always have, and I think there's a lot of projects coming on our plate. And I know me as a board member, am supportive of that and looking forward to the board as well. So if there's anything, Al, Chewy, that you need, by all means, bring it to our attention. So we can have that consideration. So,
Since we got the crane, I don't get to make any requests anymore. We are on a capital freeze right now, but we'll have to see.
And going on, because I think we want to go into the close right at 10 o'clock if we can. But going on to item C, the project that we're presently doing, that Pete's presently doing, concrete lining all the way past 600 feet past the Stallings checks. Everything is on board to finish it out here within the next 2 weeks. And it's on budget and everything's looking good. Mary just did a withdrawal of $250,000 work that we've done, that reports that we have complied with, that the Bureau of Reclamation requires before Mary can do a withdrawal. But the way they've set it up, Mary enters into a special account, that we have a special code that she utilizes, and we draw that money out. So she just here within the last week or so drew that out, and we'll draw out the balance once we've completed the project for this year. Having mentioned the Riverside Canal, I'd like to mention to you all that we just got awarded, we applied for a grant for the Riverside Canal Sediment Control Structure project. It's for $150,000. This is through the Texas Water Development Board, but this is a project that Al's been working on with Omar on you know, he gave you all a report about we're concrete lining so many canals and so many miles of canals that we have to have some place where we'll remove the sediment. This is a special design, and this funding will cover the design and the work for that project. It'll be at the tail end of the Riverside Canal, and we'll have a section that Al will be satisfied with, where Pete can go in there and have equipment to remove that sand, the sediment that builds up.
It'll look, you know, Johnny always called it Lake Riverside. Well, this will look like Lake Riverside on purpose, guys. So when you see it, so it'll be a settling basin. It'll be all earth, and we don't want any concrete in it because of you know, we're going to get in there with heavy equipment periodically, and then it'll have ingress and egress ramps on one or both sides, so that you know, you make a cut just like you would with an earth mover, remove it, and then wherever people need sand. So if you guys want any sand, let us know. It's washed. So, but the idea there is slow the water down, have the sand fall out, and remove it every year on Pete's free time, right? So, free time, but it's. I would imagine you guys have been seeing. I mean, we're pushing the sand down to you, so you guys got to be putting it on your field.
I got a sandy field.
Yeah, right, especially where the turnout is, right?
Yeah.
I see them in aerial photographs. If you want to look at it on there, you can see it on everybody's field. It's surprising how much since the beginning of the project the field elevations have come up because of this.
So on the Riverside Canal, we already have an award from the Bureau of Reclamation to continue that concrete lining from the Stallings check further down. But eventually, with the applications that we have targeted, we'll be able to get to Wasteway 2, and in the next 2 years get to where we'll have this sediment removal structure in place. Okay. And then next year we already have the funding. As you all recall, the Congressman Gonzalez got us the funding for the concrete lining of the island main. So we'll be targeting that. Pete's already working on doing that. We already did a section of it, but we're wanting to see if we can finish it out next year. And then moving on to item D, we've targeted a $5 million grant that came available through the Bureau of Reclamation for the Riverside Regulating Facility. You all funded us with the money to buy the gates. Pete's ordered the gates that will be placed in the partidor, and So anyway, we're targeting this money where we can either do a channel or a pipeline out of the partidor into a section of the Riverside Regulating Facility. It's a $5 million opportunity, and which, of course, we have to match. There's a breakdown in there that Omar placed in there, did a breakdown on labor, equipment, and materials that are needed to continue this project. So that's before you all.
Is that a resolution that has already come before us, or
No,
is it just now?
This is something new that you all would need to,
So this is what I understand, this is a complicated, what we're trying to do is phase the regulating reservoir. You know, it's a $25 million project, we just told you, this is what we had discussed a year ago about trying to get partial use of it while we're waiting for that project to come online. And so it's fun because whenever you phase things, you lower the efficiency. It's just nature, you know, you don't want to build your house 6 months and let it sit there for 6 months. You want to get it done. In this case, we're trying to recover as much use out of that $5 million as we possibly